Is House of the Dragon better than Game of Thrones? Well, that's a tough question. You see, House of the Dragon has been so impressive in its first 3 episode series run, and I just wanted to make this video, like every other video, pretty much praising its successes right now, because this is one of the best releases of a show I've seen in a while. Now, with the Game of Thrones comparison, that will naturally happen, as I am sure many other people talk about this show. But what's really important is comparing how this show starts itself versus how Game of Thrones started its own story as well. So right now, it's clear the writers and producers understand the politics and the deeper character drama dynamics are really what's important with this show, and actually what was important with Game of Thrones. It seems after the craziness and insanity of season 8 with its lackluster ending, it seems that sort of told the producers, oh, hang on a minute, we need to scale it back and pretty much figure out what we need to do with these characters and how each person fits on a larger chessboard to pretty much, lead to the outcome of what the story will be. Now, it's much easier, for them to do this than to probably follow the book series as D&D had to do with George, because with the book series, they had a lot of fan bases, a lot of people pretty much, saying, oh, it's not like this in the books, this was better in the books. These guys don't have any of that. They have free reign to pretty much follow a formula, a structure, because we have George's Fire and Blood history, but they can pretty much figure out how to get to the different conclusions he's put within the book. Now, the pros of this show, the things I love about this show already, and we're going to go into a little bit of a review, pros and cons thing. Pros, the actors are phenomenal. Paddy Considine, however you sort of say his name, he is so three-dimensional and authentic in the way he portrays such a well-meaning, good-hearted, but flawed king. And his relationship with his daughter Rhaenyra is such an interesting point of focus, because at least in Game of Thrones, we got a sort of mean and brutal relationship with Tywin and Cersei, who were in similar positions of, leading King's Landing and trying to figure out how to marry, for each houses, and how to gain power in your house, and all those things we know Game of Thrones for. This show has taken an interesting route to showing a father who wants to care about his daughter, even when he's the king and he has such a high position of power. He wants the best for his children, and we see the problems that arise with it. Rhaenyra and the actress who plays her name will be on the screen, I'll put her name on screen, but the actress for her, she has such a strength, but a likability as well. That's really, really interesting, because with this kind of character, you can have a sort of Arya 2.0, almost parodying and being a cliche of what Arya was, by having this sort of strong, willful, I hate my family, I hate marriage, I hate everything. She's not like that. She is a character that you can see is clearly intelligent and wants the best for herself, but also knows how to socially communicate with different kinds of people. She is, honestly, I believe, truly a kinder character, at least compared to Matt Smith, who I'll get to eventually. But Rhaenyra is such a fascinating person to watch, because she's undergoing that sort of patriarchal society thing where women still have to act, sort of classy, relaxed and calm, but there's a tension bubbling underneath her. And watching the ping-ponging between those two personal sides of her is really, really fascinating. And, I'm excited to see what Emma Darcy does with that character when she eventually grows up, and I guess the real show begins. Now, Matt Smith, as I mentioned, what an excellent standout. He truly, truly encapsulates that tension that we love with our characters in Game of Thrones. He's this sort of wild card character who's obviously distraught that, he is not, the next in line to the throne for his brother. And he makes decisions that are so drastic and so extreme, yet so calculated and kind of clever as well. He truly could have what it takes to be that king that, that slams the iron fist down Westeros and the Seven Kingdoms and pretty much figures out how to rule properly. Now, he may not be the best ruler, but at least compared to Paddy's character, King Viserys, he might be what's needed at this point in the timeline with all the conflicting houses going on. Otto Hightower is just, so seedy and so Machiavellian and slimy, which works, again, from what we expect from the show. You can see this is the kind of character that births the Littlefingers and Varys we know of the Game of Thrones universe as well. And that's just fascinating, incredible to watch. It's truly disgusting when you see what he does with his daughter, how he sort of gets her to follow the king and, comfort him and please him, which eventually leads to their marriage. And that's just so twisted to watch, but also fascinating, and it's everything we love Game of Thrones for. The politicking of the show as well is so interesting. It almost reminds me of season 2, which is one of my favorite seasons. If not, it might be my favorite season of Game of Thrones, to be honest. But it reminds me of that, where they're taking their time to sit down in the council, and you as a viewer get to sit there and judge and understand all the different points of views that are going on and how they'll coalesce together. King Viserys has a tough job in figuring out, who's gonna be my ally, who am I gonna work with, who can I trust, who can I not trust, and obviously his decision to marry Alicent Hightower, that's gonna cause some effects. We're already seeing it with the latest episode we had with his drift with Rhaenyra and all the different houses and the sectors of Westeros wanting his son to be the new king rather than Rhaenyra, and that's just such a fascinating conflict. The writing for this show so far is impeccable. Sure, it's not perfect, all right? We're not on peak Game of Thrones yet, but it's engaging, it's thoughtful, it requires you to pay attention, which is what we've always wanted with Game of Thrones. And it's never easy. The characters aren't fully black and white. Someone could be good, but also weak, like Viserys. Someone could be bad, like Matt Smith, but also understandable and kind of what we need at this point in the timeline. Again, Daemon, Matt Smith. I forget to say his character's name. Daemon Targaryen. I know these characters, all right. Now, one of the cons of the show, my only issue with the show, is the time jump. The time jumping, whilst it's not the worst thing in the world, I'm still able to follow along with what they're telling us, it can feel a little jarring at times, I get sort of used to a certain strand of a plotline and I want to see it develop, but then we cut to 2 years later. I would have loved to see the immediate fallout of King Viserys' marriage to Alicent Hightower. I would have loved to see that fallout between him and Rhaenyra and Daemon and everyone around him instantly after he made that decision. But we jumped to 2 years later with episode 3, which is understandable as they have a long timeline to get to. We haven't even started the main plot of this Dance with the Dragons yet. But as much as I understand that, it is a bit of a shame. I would really like to get into the weeds of that drama, which is what Game of Thrones provided. But I guess they have their priorities elsewhere, and they know what they're doing. It's very intentional. But the other thing as well, I'm going to miss the younger characters. Especially Rhaenyra, the actress who plays Rhaenyra Targaryen. She has really grown on me. She's becoming my main point of interest in this show. I love her expressions and the way she holds herself in this classy manner, but also knows how to show a certain rage and tension underneath that facade. I really love what the actress is doing with her. It's a sort of different character we hadn't really seen much of in Game of Thrones. It's almost a mix between Arya and Marjorie to a certain extent. Or I should say, it's a mix between Cersei and Marjorie. Those two polar opposite ends of the poles have all come to form one character who has that ruthlessness of Cersei, but also that social communicative ease like Marjorie. Of course, she's causing trouble now, as we see in the later series. She's running off from the King's Hunt. It's all messy. And again, I'd love to get into that. But of course, they keep jumping through the timelines, and sometimes it can feel a bit rushed. And I hope the show, at least by episode 5 or 6, slows down and gets into the weed of things so we can grow these characters. The other side characters are really good as well. Of course, I should mention Corlys Velaryon. I mentioned Otto Hightower himself. Alicent as well. Whilst the actress isn't the strongest actress in the world, her character's fascinating, at least with the self-harm sort of imprints they've showed to us. She really is someone who I'd like to understand what's going on within her head, because she seems to be pushed around like a piece on a chessboard by her father, which is terrible. And also, oh my god, talking about young girls and stuff, that scene with the 12-year-old Valerian girl talking to Paddy, or King Viserys, I keep saying the actor's name, but talking to King Viserys, going, I'll give you children, I'm 12 years old. It's just disgusting. Disgusting, but again, what can we expect from Game of Thrones? My other gripe as well would be maybe the theme song. I would have liked them to do something a little bit more original with the theme song. I'm alright with it being the normal Game of Thrones theme song. It's one of the greatest theme songs of all time, if not the greatest. But again, it feels like, oh, I'm thinking of Game of Thrones too much rather than getting into this new show. I would have liked something a bit new, but can't blame him. I'm happy with the product we have so far. At least it's better than Season 8 and downright Season 7, to be honest as well. This is a show that has a firm hand and a firm vision. The dragons and the CGI, they look, it ping-pongs, it's back and forth. Sometimes the dragons look amazing, like in the third episode, the recent episode we just had, seeing Daemon Targaryen's war and that dragon destroying everything. Those look fantastic. But then some other times, when we see the dragon flying through the air or Rhaenyra's on top of it, it feels a little bit CGI, but that's to be forgiven. This show's expensive to make, all is said and done. Now, I've heard Miguel Sapochnik, how's he saying his name? Miguel, he's stepping off as showrunner after Season 1. And this has caused a little bit of, drama and controversy. And on one hand, yes, it worries me because he is such a powerful visionary. He has such a way of seeing the show and conveying the visual language to us in such a way no other director's ever done. Even in Game of Thrones, his best episodes, Battle of the Bastards, Hard Home, a lot of the Season 7 episodes, The Winds of Winter, the end of Season 6. He is a genius visually and cinematically as well. And he's actually helped upgrade the show to cinematic level. So to lose him worries me a little bit. But also it doesn't, because the writer I'm aware of, well, I'll put his name, on the screen. He is actually in charge of the writing and the creation and the character drama, and I still trust there's a bigger vision at hand with this show, and we're still in good hands. I'm not too worried, actually. He's been working his ass off on Game of Thrones for how many years now. With this, I'm surprised he even took on this show, but I'm happy we got this season with him, and it doesn't mean he can't come back and direct other episodes, because his main skill is still the directing. He's executive producer now, but I don't know if that's his biggest strength. He's a great director first and foremost, so I'd like to see him come back for a few episodes in Season 2 or 3, and maybe just show us that, cinematic language we all love that he gave us in Game of Thrones. So I'm not too worried about that. It seems to be in capable hands. George is still pretty much, in charge of the whole thing and guiding everyone, so it's alright. It's not D&D we're dealing with, it's okay. And again, I'd rather him leave now rather than crash and burn like D&D did, as shameful as it may be. So, House of the Dragon, 3 episodes in, I'm really, really liking this show so far. It's given me a lot of hope for the future of just Thrones in general, or should I say the Song of Ice and Fire universe. It's made me excited. I'm looking forward to next week's episodes and the episodes after. I'd like to see how this ranks with Game of Thrones once the entire season is done, and when I understand what they're trying to do. Then I'll make videos, hour-long videos that you guys, want, pretty much analyzing, how this stacks of Game of Thrones and the themes going on within House of the Dragon that we've learned over the season. But what a long timeline it is already. So, I'd like to give a thank you just to the people who watched my Game of Thrones video, who enjoyed that and wanted me to make longer videos. I can commit to that, if people watch it and, I have the time for it. But thank you so much for supporting me in that video. It's strange now it's sort of getting traction, even though I made it almost 2 years ago. But yeah, again, thank you for watching this channel. If you're a subscriber, please leave a like, leave a comment, tell me what you think about House of Dragon, how it stacks with Game of Thrones. And if you're new, please consider subscribing and watching out for all the fun content I'm going to make later on. And thank you for your time. I'll see you soon.